Hey there, I'm Kathy with the Traveling Homesteader and Gyroscope Farm. So a quick update, it's garden day and I'm cleaning up stuff and planting things. I actually just planted over there, that. I just planted where that meadow flower is, and that's rhubarb. And so today I'm actually kind of getting out in a couple different spots to hopefully make my garden look better and kind of plant some things for spring. But I also get to put away junk like that. So I have some plants left over, some bulbs left over, some pots I got to put away, and then I got to maybe get some dirt. And I'm going to actually also plant some trees. So come see what ends up happening today. So some of what my daily chores are today for the garden is to kind of organize some of my tools to make my garden look a little neater. And so that's where I am now, is I'm just trying to organize some of my tools that you can see behind me. I have a little bit of a shelf here for some pots and soil. And then you can see in the back here, there's some other tools. This is just basically a little garage area. You could have a space that's like a tool shed or a garden shed that's in your garden. My garden happens to be just on the other side of this window. So where I am is actually very convenient. You can see out here that there's some flowers and stuff like that there. So that way it's easy for me just to come and go and get my goods. So with that in mind, let's get on to doing some other cleanup stuffs. So there's the window right there where you just saw me in my little tool shed, and I can just access it over to the left there. And what I'm doing is I'm trying to rearrange my potted plants up here and get this junk out from kind of in the middle there, right by the red pot and my lemon balm. And I'm going to move up here and show you kind of what I need, what else I need to clean up on the end. And so I've already moved around some things, and I kind of like the way it's starting to shape up. But I also have to realize that what things shade what. And like, for example, the iris and the daffodils over here are coming up now, and they'll kind of be that height for a while. I have this one white plant in the white pot on the left. I actually don't know what that is, and that one's coming up better than its kind of pair in that other white pot there. That one's looking a little bit rough. So you can see that right there. It's not quite doing well, and its roots are looking a little sad. But it's that lemon balm right there in the red pot. There's a little bit of the doozy. And the thing is, that lemon balm gets really big in the summer. But this pot with the stake and the hummingbird feeder and the fake flower with the little flowers, I want to call them crocuses, but I think they're something else. That is a freshly planted pot this spring, and I'm not sure how that's going to turn up. So for right now, that pot is fine next to the lemon balm. But those iris have been shaded by that lemon balm for years now. So that means I got to do something about that pot to make it better. And so these are some things that I get to look at. And like this iris is in a fig. That little tree there is my fig. And so I got to do something about those two to help that kind of stay going. And then this kind of ugly looking pot right here, next to the yellow lid, is mint, and I'm going to be wanting to transplant that into a little bit bigger pot. So that's kind of what we're looking at today, and we'll see how it turns out, getting all this sort of cleaned up and looking what I might call decent. Hey there, I'm in a space where I'm going to need to put some holes in some pots. These are some bamboo pots that I got, I guess it was last year or so, to just spruce up some color in my garden area that I'm showing you. But I just haven't gotten around to putting holes in them yet. Now, you don't have to put holes in all pots, but I'd suggest if you get any pots to put things in, that you make sure that there are holes in the bottom. And you can kind of see where there should be holes in those circular bumps. But for some reason, either A, this company decided not to do that, or B, they chose to give you the other option of having plants in these pots where you put stones in the bottom and then put some soil and your plant. Sometimes people do that. Either way is fine, but for me and what I want to do, this needs holes in it because I'm going to have them outside and water goes right on through. So let's check this one out. So these are what I'm going to try to put holes. So I'm going to put the holes in these pots, hopefully, using my little set here and my small drill. Now, this particular set has a lot of different things in it for me to use to do holes, screws, whatever. So now that we got this open, you can see this set has drill bits. It has some different size Phillips head, screwdrivers, and just other things in here for me to use. I'm going to use this bit here because it's the largest one and it'll do the job that I need. So all I need to do is put this in there where that handy dandy regular screwdriver head is, and then we can screw in the holes. So now that I've switched out my bits, you can see I just took this little one out and put this bigger one in. All I'm going to try to do is go here, and let's see if I can do this all at once. So this particular drill has a little bit problem with the battery, so I got another one that I'll use. So here's my other battery operated one. So crossing fingers, this one will work. And again, I'm just gonna put my drill here. Make sure it can go forward. And actually, I may have put it in the wrong direction, so I'll just squeeze it the other way. And there we go. Ta-da! First hole out. And we'll reverse it. And you can see it has a nice hole. And I'll just do that in each of these spots. And then that'll help me have it so that it can drain water through with my plants. Oops. Make sure when you do this so it doesn't move like it just did, that you press down hard up here and then fill in the hole. Oh, and again, I have it in the reverse position. And bring it back. So you can, on mine, I just had it with this button, and I had it this way to go forward and that way to go backwards. So now I can just pull it right out and on to the next hole. Hey there, so part of today's job is also checking in on the bees. And yes, the bees have to do with the garden. And so I wanted to show you guys kind of my busy bees for a minute. And kind of the deal about the honey over here, they're just behind me now. So the deal about the bees and why I'm kind of checking on them with my garden is that I also am checking on some other plants around me, specifically blackberries that are right behind us over here. And the blackberries are going to be good for pollen as well. And since we have blackberries in abundance here, and I kid you not, if you're not from Oregon, it literally is like the state weed. It's just, we get them all over the place. And so it's a really good pollen source for the bees. And so what I'm also trying to figure out is to plant certain flowers or added flowers for the bees during the summer. Because around here, at least summers as of late, have been rather dry, you might say, and without a whole lot of pollen for the bees to collect. So that's kind of what I'm also plotting through today as well. So these are the bees, and they're actually doing a pretty good job of being busy. And so if we get close enough, we can kind of see what they're doing. And more times than not, if you see any yellow spots kind of close to their bodies but on their legs, that means they're bringing back pollen, which is a good thing. And so, in fact, I think we got a couple here with some pollen on. But at least earlier when I stopped by, they had pollen on. And so what they're doing is, you may notice that they're kind of gravitating towards one side of the hive. And actually earlier today, they were gravitating more towards this side rather than that side over there. But now they're kind of going in the middle a little bit. And that's a hint as to where they're putting their pollen. And so they had initially started on this side closest to us because that's where their pollen is going. And believe it or not, the pollen that they're collecting and some of the nectar that they're collecting will be transferred into honey as a matter of fermentation. So they have to have their honey or their hive at a certain temperature for a certain amount of time for it to actually ferment the honey that they're bringing in now, so to speak. So that's how the process of honey is. Hey there, so as I'm working on my garden, it occurred to me that I should show you a soil mix that I put together to help me with my garden. Now, part of my this garden, I went out and got a mix from my local, I don't know what you really call it. The name of the place is called Lane Forest Products. I don't know as a general term what you call them, but basically they have different soils, different rocks. You can bring things there to be composted, leaves, branches, all that. And in return, you can purchase other things that help with your garden or your landscape. And so I went there and ended up getting some, in years past, some garden soil mix. And it's a good, easy thing to pick up. But this last batch I got was really sandy, and I didn't like how it was in these pots. So I decided to make a mix again, like I'd done before, for my blueberries, and you may have seen that. But basically, I follow this guy called Mel Bartholomew when it comes to soil, and he has something called Mel's Mix. And essentially, it's three equal parts of peat moss, perlite, and compost. And you can use that in raised beds, in pots, putting it in your garden, just a normal garden in the ground to help amend your soil. And I really like it because you can kind of go a little heavy on this, a little light on that, depending on what your soil is like. And so because some of my pots had that soil from Lane Forest Products that I was kind of about, I thought I'd mix up some of Mel's Mix and combine it with the Lane Forest Products to kind of enhance it a little bit more. So I thought I'd show you my Mel's Mix while I am doing it. So I kind of already got this started, but as you can see, I have my steer manure here. I like that because this particular brand has a little bit of variety to it. It's not just steer manure, but it really helps out my plants. And then we have perlite, which is the white stuff, and then the peat moss, which helps with water, retaining water. Now, as I move this, my bags, I had some of this from last year. I had my perlite and my peat moss from last year, and that's what I already have in here. As you can see, I have some of the perlite, and it's really light. It's basically similar to styrofoam. And then we have the peat moss, which is nice and kind of light too. I may need to add some more peat moss or more perlite to my mix. Ooh, got a little snaily in there. But I'm going to then I tend to be a little heavy on the steer manure or the compost just so my plants can be spruced up a little bit. So in my handy dandy dually of a wheelbarrow, that's what I have going on in there. So what I'm going to do is just open up my bags and mix it all together. And I'm actually going to take from that pot right there and also put in here because that's some of the soil that I got from Lane Forest Products. And it's not bad, but it's heavy on the sand, and that's what I'm kind of like, eh. And my lavender in that pot actually really likes it. But some of my other plants are struggling a little bit. Like my rhubarb over there that you can see right there. It's a little bit but as you can see, my lavender is doing pretty well. So we'll bring it up to date when the time comes. And now that I've added the soil from the pot, from that Lane Forest Products, you can kind of tell, kind of, sort of. The texture of this is a little bit different even yet from the peat moss and the compost. So this really is, it has a lot more sandy texture to it. Just so, I think this mix will probably work out really well now. Crossing fingers, the next things I plant will be happy. So just a little food for thought as I'm gardening here. I was at my local farmer's market this last week when I got that plant right there. And that is a gooseberry plant. And I got it because my mom has had several in her garden for years. And I actually like gooseberries, as in gooseberry jam, for preservation. So I decided to get myself one, and maybe we'll get another. And as I got talking to the lady who has that plant, I said, I'm finding my tomatoes this year are kind of, and I'm slightly frustrated, if I'm honest, but I'll get by. But in the end, I said, I'm thinking I'm kind of a lazy gardener. I really like to plant once and have it come back. I have about, a dozen blueberry plants. I'm having, you can see in the background here, one big fig plant. I have another little one right there that I got from another vendor at the local farmer's market. And then I have my gooseberry plant. And then right there, next to this tall flower decoration, I have rhubarb. And then I don't know if you can see way back that big long plant hedge right there. That's my blackberry stash. But we have a lot of blackberries out here anyway. And so these are different things that I said, I just like to have them come back each year without kind of a whole lot of effort. And she said, you're growing a food forest. And I'd heard of food forests before, but I didn't realize I was doing it. And so sometimes when we get doing things subconsciously, it's because we want it that way. And so I just thought I'd present to you the idea of a food forest instead of maybe a garden, or instead of growing stuff for dinner. And realize that with something like a food forest, you have the opportunity to attract a whole other wide range of things. In my case, I have bees here. You can attract, so the bees and other pollinators like butterflies, which get attracted to my flowers over here, or even my lemon balm. But then you can also attract like birds and other bugs and things that kind of are needing to be around for pollination and for just life. So I might put to you about thinking about the idea of doing a food forest, just as a sort of side note. So before getting too much more into my little garden space here, I thought I'd kind of wrap it up to this point on what my garden looks like over the last few weeks or so that I've been trying to put this all together. So when I started this, it's been about a month or so ago since I started, and everything's kind of moved around, changed. I've added some, taken some out, but I wanted to get you kind of seeing the direction of where my garden is going for this season. And so far, I'm kind of excited. And so, as you can see right next to me is my healthy little gooseberry plant. And right over here is my handy-dandy calla lily that my mom gave me as a gift. And this is just kind of some of what I've added. And behind me is my lemon balm. But I've also added, you can kind of see right there, is a new fig plant. And I have some lavender plants. And I wasn't necessarily intending on getting a gooseberry or a new fig, along with my big fig tree over there. But I thought, this would be kind of fun to add these. And part of what I do is look for price. And I couldn't handle not getting this gooseberry plant for $10 or this other fig plant for $10. And both were from local farmers. So that's in part why I did that. But I'll show you some other things that I got that I haven't quite finished planting just yet, because I just got them this last week and I haven't had time to plant them yet. And hopefully they'll come in well next season. So these are my newest plants that I'll be putting in, and these will be June lilies, and then these are a type of crocus, a tall, thin orange type flower, which I'm kind of excited about. But as you can see here, I have my other plants kind of already up and going, and some kind of garden decor. But my strawberries are going great gangbusters. I have some new lavender plants that you may see around, along with this big nice fig that has its own set of, it's actually bearing fruit, which I'm kind of excited about. It's doing its job, and it's got a couple of others going on over here. But I also have some mint and rhubarb that I had got earlier this year, along with some other lavender, and of course my lemon balm, and my iris is down here. And so with a spare set of garlic right there. So that'll be harvested up here soon. But I wanted to show you these things so you could kind of get an idea about what's in my garden, but also what you can put in your garden using pots. And now that you've gotten some ideas of your own, hopefully you can kind of put together some plants and some garden, but a garden space of your own, so that you can have produce in your own yard or own patio. In my case, I kind of have two spaces. This is one space that I've been working on. I also have another space in what I might call proper garden, fenced in and all. And I just was planting some tomatoes and peppers up there. So hopefully this is giving you some different ideas, or kind of see how I do it at least. And if you have any other comments, questions, or concerns, put it down below. And remember, doing something like a garden can help be sustainable, and think of it like a food forest, like we talked about a little bit earlier. That sometimes we need to think about things in a little different way to kind of make it happen. But thanks again for coming to this point, and if you haven't subscribed already, hit the subscribe button. It helps out a ton. And have a good day.